No one voted for him, yet he became the president of a nation. Is this injustice or a revolution long overdue? He didn't come with a smile and promises. He came with boots in the dirt and a heart full of fire. No campaign, no votes, no handshakes with elites. Just a mission to save a country drowning in silence. In a world where leaders climbed to power with sweet words and hidden deals, he walked in with truth too loud to ignore. And yes, no one voted for him, but the streets, the soldiers, the suffering people, they knew, maybe for the first time, that someone was finally listening. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't wear a suit. He wore the uniform of sacrifice. He didn't ask for permission to fix what was broken, because those in power weren't willing to let go of what they stole. He rose not to rule, but to rebuild. He said, if the ballot can't protect the people, then the boots must. He wasn't hungry for power. He was starving for justice. He shut the doors on corruption. He opened the books of stolen gold. He silenced the whispers of foreign powers who had been pulling the strings for decades. And suddenly the world was watching, because a man who wasn't elected was doing more for his people than those who were. This isn't just the story of an unexpected president. This is the story of a man who refused to wait for permission to protect his people. And sometimes, real leaders aren't chosen by the system, they're chosen by the storm. In a single night, he removed the elected leader and took power. Was it patriotism or pure ambition? Change rarely comes quietly. Sometimes it crashes like thunder in the dead of night. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't wait for an invitation or applause. He acted because the country was bleeding. In one decisive night, he removed the elected leader, not out of desire for personal gain, but out of urgent necessity. The people were suffering under corruption, stagnation, and broken promises. Leaders chosen by the ballot had failed to protect the nation's future. Many call it a coup, but for those living in fear and poverty, it was hope knocking loudly. Hope that someone was finally ready to fight for the forgotten. Yes, taking power by force is controversial, but when systems fail and voices go unheard, action becomes inevitable. Captain Traoré understood this better than most. His mission was clear, not to conquer, but to liberate, not to oppress, but to empower. He didn't seek the throne for glory, he sought it for change. Every night since that fateful one, he's been working to rebuild the nation, to restore dignity, protect resources, and end foreign interference. This story reminds us that leadership isn't always neat or predictable. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, and even controversial. But the true test is what you do after the storm has passed. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's story is proof. Real change demands courage, sometimes the kind that shakes the very ground beneath us. Many called it the start of military rule, but is that really the truth? When a soldier steps into the highest seat of power, whispers begin. Military rule, they say. Dictatorship in disguise. Fear spreads, doubts rise, and the world watches cautiously. But what if the story is more than just a label? What if this so-called military rule is actually a fight for justice? Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't seize power to silence voices. He stepped up because the voices were already silenced by corruption and neglect. People feared a dictator, but they found a leader who listens. They expected oppression, but witnessed hope. The uniform was not a mask for tyranny, but a symbol of responsibility. History has shown us many times, sometimes change doesn't come in perfect packages. It comes in forms that shake us, scare us, and force us to rethink everything. Traoré's leadership challenges the narrative. He isn't here to suppress freedoms, but to protect them. He isn't here to build walls, but to rebuild a nation broken by years of neglect. The question isn't whether he took power by force, it's what he's doing with that power. Is he a soldier turned tyrant or a warrior for his people's future? Only time will tell. But for now, the people of Burkina Faso see a different kind of leader, one who dares to break the mold. But everyone was wrong, because the truth was far deeper and more powerful. In moments of judgment, it's easy to jump to conclusions, to label actions as wrong or right, black or white. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré took charge, many rushed to call it a coup, a disaster, a threat. But the reality was much more complex. Behind every bold move, there's a story unseen. Behind every controversial decision, there's a reason grounded in deep pain and hope. Burkina Faso was drowning in corruption, insecurity, and broken promises. The old ways were failing its people. Traoré didn't come to repeat history, he came to rewrite it. Yes, he challenged the system. Yes, he disrupted the status quo. But he did so because the stakes were higher than any one man. He was fighting for the soul of his nation. What many missed was his vision, a vision where justice replaces greed, where children no longer suffer underground in silence, where the country's resources are used for its people, not foreign powers. He wasn't a dictator in disguise. He was a leader in disguise, a leader brave enough to face criticism, opposition, and risk. Sometimes truth is is hidden beneath layers of fear and misunderstanding. But over time, courage and conviction shine through. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré is proving that real change comes from those willing to break the mold, no matter the cost. He held a gun in his hand, but in his eyes burned an unbreakable dream: freedom for his nation. Power in the hands of a soldier often raises alarm bells, but power in the hands of a dreamer, now that is something different. Captain Ibrahim Traoré walked into history carrying both a weapon and a vision. Yes, he held a gun, because sometimes to protect what you love, you must be ready to fight. But beyond the gun in his eyes was a fire that no weapon could extinguish, a dream for a free, fair, and prosperous Burkina Faso. That dream wasn't about domination or control. It was about hope and restoration. A hope that children could grow without fear. A hope that corruption would be rooted out. A hope that the nation's wealth would serve its people, not outsiders. Every leader faces a choice: use power to crush or use it to create. Traoré chose creation. He knew the road wouldn't be easy. He knew the critics would come. But his vision was clear. With every step, he demonstrated that true leadership is about sacrifice and service. He didn't just want to change the system, he wanted to change the mindset. A soldier with a gun can enforce rules, but a leader with a dream can change destinies. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's story teaches us that sometimes the tools of struggle are necessary, but it is the dreams that truly shape the future. He said, "I did not come to take power. I came to restore my country's dignity." True leadership isn't about grasping power for selfish gain. It's about serving something greater than oneself. Captain Ibrahim Traoré understood this deeply. When he took the reins of Burkina Faso, he didn't come as a conqueror. He came with a promise to restore the nation's dignity. For years, the people had suffered under broken systems, foreign interference, and neglect. He said clearly, "I did not come to take power. I came to restore my country's dignity." This was not just a statement, it was a mission to reclaim the pride that had been stolen. Dignity means respect for the people's voice. It means protecting the country's resources for its own citizens. It means standing tall in the face of external pressures and refusing to bow down. Traoré's leadership was different because it wasn't about personal glory. It was about national honor. Every decision he made echoed this commitment. He worked to remove corrupt officials, fight child labor, and protect the environment. He challenged powerful institutions that had long dictated terms to his country. This is the essence of true leadership: courage to stand up, not for yourself, but for your people. Captain Ibrahim Traoré reminds us all that power is not a prize to win, but a responsibility to carry with honor. Under his leadership, the nation declared for the first time, "Our resources are not for foreigners anymore." For decades, many African nations have seen their wealth taken away, their natural resources exploited by foreign powers, while their people remained in poverty and struggle. But under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, something changed. For the first time, Burkina Faso stood up and said loudly, "Our resources are not for foreigners anymore." This wasn't just a slogan. It was a bold declaration of independence and self-respect. It meant the gold, the minerals, and the land belonged to the people who live and work there. Traoré understood that true freedom isn't just political, it's economic. If a nation's wealth flows out to others, the people remain trapped in hardship. So he fought to take control back, ensuring that the country's riches benefit its citizens first. This move faced huge opposition from powerful foreign interests, but Traoré did not back down. He knew the future of Burkina Faso depended on reclaiming what was theirs by right. His leadership inspired a new wave of pride and hope among the people. They began to see that their country could rise, not by begging or depending on others, but by standing tall and owning their destiny. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's story reminds us that real sovereignty comes when a nation controls its own resources and chooses its own path. This is the power of true leadership, turning dreams into reality for the people. He expelled the French army from his country. But what did that really mean? For years, foreign military forces had a strong presence in Burkina Faso. They claimed to protect the nation, but many saw their presence as control, disguised as aid. Captain Ibrahim Traoré took a bold step. He expelled the French army from his country. This was not just a political move, it was a powerful statement. It said loud and clear, "This is our land, our people, our future." By sending out foreign troops, Traoré was reclaiming sovereignty that had long been compromised. He was telling the world that Burkina Faso would no longer be a pawn in someone else's game. This decision was risky. It angered powerful nations, created diplomatic tension, and stirred uncertainty. But Traore understood that true freedom means being able to make your own choices without fear or interference. His people saw this as a moment of pride and hope. It was a declaration that their nation deserved respect and control over its own destiny. Removing foreign military forces was not just about politics. It was about dignity, independence, and the right to self-determination. Captain Ibrahim Traoré showed that real leadership often requires tough choices. Choices that shake the foundations of the old order and pave the way for a new future. This act was a symbol of courage, one that inspired many and marked a turning point for Burkina Faso. He said no to the IMF and the UN. How many dare to do that in today's world? In a world where most leaders bend to the will of global powers, Captain Ibrahim Traoré chose a different path. He stood up, looked the biggest international institutions in the eye, and said one word: no. No to the IMF's loans with strings attached. No to the United Nations pressure without solutions. No to the systems that had failed his people again and again. This wasn't arrogance, it was resistance. Resistance against a cycle where poor nations are kept poor through debt, dependency, and diplomacy that benefits the powerful. Traoré believed that real freedom cannot be borrowed. It must be built from the ground up, by the people, for the people. And that meant rejecting offers that looked like help but came with hidden chains. When he said no, he wasn't just speaking for Burkina Faso. He was speaking for every forgotten voice across Africa. He was showing that leadership means having the courage to disappoint the world if it means uplifting your people. He knew the risks, he knew the consequences, but he also knew that dignity has no price tag. Captain Ibrahim Traoré reminds us, sometimes saying no to the world is the first step towards saying yes to your nation's future. And that kind of courage, that's what makes a leader unforgettable. He found children working 700 meters underground. How long will we keep burying our conscience beneath injustice? Deep beneath the earth, where sunlight never reaches, where the air is thin and the risk is high, children were digging, not playing, not learning, but working. 700 meters underground. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't discover treasure. He discovered a tragedy, a heartbreaking truth that had been hidden from the world and ignored by those in power for far too long. He saw the innocent faces covered in dust, their tiny hands blistered, their futures stolen. These weren't workers, they were victims, children forced into darkness by poverty, greed, and silence. And in that moment, Traoré made a promise. This ends now. He didn't just speak out, he acted. He called out the injustice, confronted the systems that allowed it, and vowed to bring these children back to the surface, to light, to school, to safety. This wasn't politics, this was humanity. Real leadership isn't measured by how many policies you pass, but how many lives you protect. Traoré's discovery was a wake-up call, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the entire world. We often look up to our heroes, but sometimes the greatest hero is the one who dares to look down and lift others up. And that very night, after witnessing injustice with his own eyes, he decided, the system must change. Some decisions take years, some take seconds, and some are made in the dead of night when the truth hits so hard you can no longer look away. Captain Ibrahim Traoré went deep underground and saw what no leader should ever have to see. Children forced to work in dangerous mines, buried in darkness, not because they wanted to, but because a broken system gave them no choice. He didn't walk away in silence. He didn't wait for a report or a roundtable discussion. He decided right then and there, this cannot continue. That night changed him. And through him, it began to change a nation. Because real leadership doesn't just feel anger, it takes action. While others looked away for years, he faced the horror and let it ignite his purpose. That night, a mission was born: to challenge a system that had failed its most vulnerable, to rewrite the rules, to tear down structures built on exploitation. The world measures power in wealth and weapons, but Traoré proved that true power lies in the courage to stand up immediately when you witness injustice. He didn't delay, he didn't sleep on it, he acted. And that action became a spark of change across the country. Because sometimes, one night, one choice, one leader with a heart full of fire is all it takes to change everything. While others focused on securing power, he launched a 20 million tree project for the next generation. Leaders often think in terms of 5-year plans, elections, power, and politics. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré thought beyond the moment. He thought about the future. While others were securing their positions, he was securing the planet. He launched a bold and visionary initiative to plant 20 million trees. Not for fame, not for show, but for the children who haven't been born yet, for the land that was dying, for the skies that were choking, for a generation that deserves to breathe freely. Because true leadership isn't just about making noise today. It's about planting roots for tomorrow. Every tree is a message. We care about the future. Every sapling is a promise. promise. We will not leave you a broken world. Where many see power as control, Traore saw it as a chance to heal the soil, the environment, and the soul of a nation. This wasn't just an environmental move, it was a moral one. A reminder that greatness isn't built in gold palaces, but in green forests planted by hands that care. Captain Traore's tree project is a living symbol, of vision, of values, of hope. And one day, when those trees rise tall, the children of Burkina Faso will sit in their shade and know a leader once cared for them, before they even arrived. He told his soldiers, "You are guardians of the nation, not its rulers." How many leaders dare to say that? In countries where guns speak louder than justice, and uniforms often sit on thrones, one man stood in front of his soldiers and said something revolutionary. "You are the guardians of the nation, not its rulers." Those words weren't just instructions. They were a powerful reminder of duty, discipline, and honor. Captain Ibrahim Traoré knew that soldiers carry strength, but that strength must never become tyranny. Their role isn't to dominate the people, but to protect them, like a shield, not a sword. He redefined the military's purpose, not as a tool for political control, but as the spine of national defense, grounded in service, not authority. Where many leaders use armies to silence voices, Traoré taught them to listen. Where others build fear, he built responsibility. This one statement separated him from the dictators of history. He didn't want power held by guns. He wanted power to rise from trust. He reminded his forces that a soldier's highest duty is not obedience to a person, but loyalty to the people. And in a continent where the military too often steps into civilian shoes, Traoré drew the line with clarity and courage. Because the strongest nation is not the one with the biggest army, but the one whose army knows when to stand back and let the people lead their own future. This is leadership rooted in principle. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré proved, even in uniform, you can fight for peace, not control. At just 34, he became the symbol of a new era in Africa. While others were starting, he was already rewriting history. Leadership isn't about age. It's about courage, vision, and action. And at just 34 years old, Captain Ibrahim Traoré shattered every expectation. While most people in their 30s are still trying to figure out life, he stood up, took responsibility, and became the face of a revolution. Not one driven by violence, but by values. Not led by pride, but by purpose. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't beg for recognition. He let his actions speak louder than his age. In a continent where older leaders often cling to power for decades, Traoré brought something Africa hadn't seen in a long time. Young blood with old wisdom, a fearless spirit determined to protect his people, to restore their dignity, and to reshape the future. He proved that youth is not a weakness, it's a weapon when guided by vision. He showed the world that real leadership isn't defined by gray hair, but by bold heartbeats and unshakable integrity. At 34, he didn't just become a president, he became a symbol of hope for every African child who dreams of change, but fears they're too young to make it happen. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is proof. You don't have to wait your whole life to lead. You just have to decide that now is your time. His name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the man who walks forward while fear stays behind. His name is more than a title, it's a movement. It's a message to every soul that dares to dream beyond fear. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is not just a leader, he is a reminder that even in the darkest times, a single brave heart can light the way forward. He didn't inherit power, he didn't buy it, he earned it through sacrifice, courage, and unwavering belief in his people. He faced bullets of doubt, bombs of criticism, and the endless noise of powerful enemies. But through it all, he walked forward, not for himself, not for glory, for his country. While others run from fire, he walks through it. While some choose silence, he raises his voice for the voiceless. And while many chase comfort, he chooses responsibility. This is not the story of perfection. It's the story of purpose. It's about a man who understood that leadership is not about ruling people. It's about walking beside them, even when the road is rough. So when history looks back at this moment, it won't just remember his uniform or his rank. It will remember his fire, his fearlessness, and his footsteps carved deep into the soil of Burkina Faso. Because at the end of the day, his name isn't just Captain Ibrahim Traoré. It's a symbol of standing tall when others kneel, of moving forward when fear says stop.